Welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions with Frank. And today I have Steve Wohlenhaus. He's the owner and CEO of Weatherology, the industry leader in audio dissemination of weather information to individuals and the broadcast industry. He's a speaker. He's an author. He's a host of the podcast Anatomy of Success, in which I'm a fan, so check it out. And he has a YouTube channel with some great video content you will not want to miss. Specifically, my favorite, 8 unhealthy people that should be avoided at all costs. Steve, thanks so much for being on. It's been amazing to get to know you. I know we've interacted a lot on LinkedIn, which is awesome, and that is where we met. But it's so great to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Oh, Frank, it's my pleasure. So happy to be a part of this, and I'm here at your disposal, my friend. So take me where you want to go on your magnificent platform here.
Love it. All right. So before we jump into the question part, I just love to give the audience a little glimpse into a day in the life of Steve, what makes you tick, and something that they should know about you.
Well, my family, first of all, Frank, my beautiful daughter, my son, that's my world. Health is imperative for me. I focus a great deal of time and effort, mentally, physically, each and every day on constantly getting better, eating well, and then trying to make the world a better place and grow my wonderful team at work. I'm blessed, and I get up each and every day early and dedicate myself to the things that I think matter most to me. And my faith is a big part of that too, and great friendships. So I feel very fortunate, and because of that, I'm here to help people discover some happiness in their life, and that's kind of my ultimate objective today.
Awesome. So how'd you get your start? Where'd you come from? How'd you get to where you're at today? How did Steve get from point A to point B today? I'm sure it was a straight line.
That's hilarious, Frank. How about a stumble? You would think I was inebriated if you watched that journey. But I was blessed. My mom and dad were amazing people, both of which are no longer with us. And they owned radio stations. They were in the broadcast business from a very early age. I was indoctrinated in broadcasting, fascinated by it, and I had an opportunity, which I believe a lot of people don't have, and I capitalized on it. I dove in, had my first radio show at 15, became enamored with TV in college, had an internship with the top weather anchor in the country who took me under his wings, and I did things for him. It was reciprocal, and he opened up an opportunity of a lifetime for me, which I seized, and I went on to get my master's degree in meteorology because of that, and I got my first full-time TV job. Within 3 months, I was in a major market, Minneapolis, St. Paul, youngest TV weather anchor in the country, doing what I love to do, and my business was born out of that experience. So how's that for a succinct rendition?
It's great, and I really want to make sure that anyone who's listening really catches that you had that person who's sort of like a catalyst in your life, and that person who potentially open those doors for you, because it's important to seek mentors out and to seek out someone who can give you that little twist in the education. So I'm so glad you shared that little tidbit.
Yeah, it's very important, and many people don't have that, Frank. And I'm a big advocate that you need to go out sometimes and make that happen for yourself, and be very aggressive about it, because whether it's somebody you meet in person or online, ironically, today we can facilitate those relationships.
You bet. Yes. So what advice would you give someone? So the premise of the show is someone's going to listen to this, whether they're just starting out in their career, maybe a little established in their career, or maybe have been somewhere for a while and are like, man, I want to get out of here. So what advice would you give someone who might be thinking about, hey, I like what Steve does. I want to be where Steve is.
Well, I would say, first of all, be true to yourself, whatever that is. Be committed to doing what you believe is most beneficial for you. If moving into the broadcast profession is of interest to you today, I've got good news. The traditional channels are no longer necessary. The approach I had today was put together a resume tape and try to apply to a major market TV station among thousands of other candidates and stand apart. It was a very laborious, arduous process. Today, your cell phone and a little personality and some ambition, and you can do what Frank's doing. You can be a superstar and have your own show. I mean, that's how I met you, Frank. I saw you and I said, God, I love this guy. If I was in TV, I'd hire this guy because he's got that magnanimous personality that comes through the camera. And there's so many people that have that, they don't even realize it. And you can do that today and create opportunities for yourself like no other time in history.
Awesome. Great. That's right. That's awesome. And so if you think about, where you're at today and your road to get here, what's, right now specifically, but what do you think is the greatest thing about being where you're at in the industry that you're in?
First of all, we've set ourselves apart, Frank, as the leading company in the world at what we do, which is something I take pride in. That's something I did. I've assembled remarkable people. If I have a gift, that's what it is. I recognize remarkable talent before they even see it in themselves, and I pull it out of them, much like you squeeze blood out of a turnip. And I let these people loose, and I let them operate without impunity, and they create this magnificent company that I get all the credit for and try to make sure everybody understands that it's not me. But and it gives me the time to do what I love to do, which is venture in a direction of helping other people, cultivating my teams by coaching, mentoring, and creating a life for myself that I'm so blessed to have, which gives me the financial freedom I desire and the time to enjoy it, which is absolutely imperative as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome. And you can hear, I can feel the gratefulness in you. So that's such a great share, and very important to realize about the team aspect of it. You built a great team. You get the credit for it. Yeah, sure. But you built a great team, and that's why you shine. So that's really, really humbling. If you look at the, I guess, let's pick apart the broadcast industry in general and say, if there's one thing you would change, knowing that you've been all around and, again, a career spanning 30 years, what's one thing you would change if you could?
Well, first and foremost, I'm very proud of how well weather has advanced our ability to notify and inform people, the sophistication of technology, and how our team disseminates that in a timely fashion. We've saved lives, Frank, and that's something I pointed out in an article I wrote yesterday on LinkedIn, where I talk about 5 things you can do at work to make your team more engaged. And we've created this belief system based on every time we go on the air, tornado warnings, hurricane warnings, and people point that out frequently. Cause and purpose, it really drives a sense of belonging that's amazing. And on the other side of the coin, journalism in general, I'm not a big fan of today because the ego has taken over, competitiveness has taken over. And, there was a time in the history of this country when journalists like Walter Cronkite were the most respected people in this country, and that's no longer the case anymore because it's become incredibly polluted. So I wish it would go back to the way it was, where there was so much value and trust associated with the product. But today, as a sophisticated consumer, you have to be incredibly astute and carefully consider where you get your information from. And I'm afraid that's only going to become more apparent as time goes on.
Great. Good point there. So this is my favorite part of the show, just to give you a chance to be historically correct here. We save this footage and we will come back 5 years from now, or, just down the road, if you can take Steve's crystal ball out and give us a glimpse into the future, where do you think the industry will be? What big changes do you see coming?
Well, I personally see really big changes coming, Frank, and that's part of the reason why 7 years ago we created the only audio weather API in the world that takes real human voice and translates text in real time. That's our patent. Nobody else does it. Makes Siri and Alexa sound boring. And so we're very proud of that technology, and I see broadcasting moving in a direction very quickly that's very different from what it is today. And my fear is the industry is probably highly unaware of the implications of those changes because they're unprecedented. And my hope is they'll start to catch up and recognize and appreciate how exponential changes will be needed to keep up with that trend. But we're plugged into the future and we're excited about it. And oftentimes in the industry, we're leading the charge with our ability to see those things before the industry does. My hope is we can help the industry move in the right direction, but that's going to require some cooperation. We'll see what happens,
Awesome. Yeah, I call that in my industry. I say all the time, it's my job to be able to peek around the corner. I got to see things that we can't see yet, but it's my job as you know, the industry leader for me to be able to see those things. So for you, yeah, you're right. You know, you've got to see the unseen, and I love that. I appreciate that so much. So.
Well, and I do too, Frank, and I see that you do that as well with your work, and businesses like the ones we're in need that, you know, and it's not suggesting they're doing bad things, but, you know, it's very tempting to get comfortable with doing things the way they've always been, relying on the fact that for so many decades, that model has been highly successful. But unlike any other time in history, we're starting to see a massive shift in a brand new direction where content is being consumed in these portable places that we reside in, and it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. It doesn't require satellite dishes, studios, expensive equipment, and you're a perfect illustration of how somebody with a little ambition can do something. Our buddy Mark Meckley's a perfect example, 21-year-old kid that's created one of the world's most popular podcasts from his house because he had the desire to do it and put the effort into making it happen. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, Mark is an amazing success story. So much props to him for sure. So where do we find you? Where people want to find Steve? They want to know more about what you're doing, maybe your company, or find you socially. Let us know. How do we get some Steve into our lives?
Well, I appreciate that, Frank. You can go to Weatherology, which is weatherology.com/Steve, and that's my personal page on my company page. And you'll find at the top of the page social media links to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, further down the podcast link, and then a link to my book. And I'm working on 2 other books that I hope to release next year, and grateful for the wonderful connections that I've made on LinkedIn like yourself. Keep up the good work, Frank. A big fan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for being on. I know that you've brought some tremendous value for sure, and the insight of you and your career and the journey. Anyone who has a question, Steve is very generous with his time, so drop it in the comments. Let us know. If there's anything that you want to pick Steve's brain about, please do not hesitate to reach out. Steve, thanks again for being on. Really appreciate it. It's been amazing.
You got it, Frank. I appreciate the time. We'll talk soon, my friend.